Hi, and welcome back. I'm Simi Lerner, and this is the Judaism from Within podcast, the podcast where we go through the thoughts, the philosophy of Rav Raphael Hirsch, making the laws in the Torah, or an understanding of the Parsha, meaningful in a modern context, relevant to our lives. Now, we are going to discuss a unique commandment, something that perhaps isn't often discussed. I mean, part of it is, but it's more of an intuition. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Today we're going to talk about attention. Now, in today's day and age, this is a very relevant topic. Attention is the currency. You pay for all your free apps with your attention. My students often ask me, isn't it amazing that everything's free? Nothing is free. As they say, there is no such thing as a free lunch. You are paying with your attention. Your attention is your interest, and your interest is data. Why am I talking about attention? Because this week we're discussing the laws about returning lost articles, giving testimony, not standing by when someone is struggling and in pain. What does this have to do with attention? Well, you notice things in life. Moshe at the burning bush is a good example of this. He noticed it. That's often emphasized because someone else could have ignored it, and it was considered a moral trait to notice things that are important. When you notice something on the ground, you have an option in front of you. You could ignore it, or you could recognize it. When you see something going down that's bad, murder, theft, and you could give testimony, you could concretize what you saw, you could validate your attention, or you could not and walk the other way. You see someone struggling with a burden on their back, burden on their animal, someone just simply in danger of their lives, you could look the other way. Your attention is part of your moral framework. What you pay attention to tells me a lot about you. To give an example to this, if a person would look at your, and I don't mean this in a inappropriate way, I just mean it in a general point of interest. When someone looks at someone's, I don't know, internet history, what have they been interested in recently? What topics have been calling them? When you look at a person's large language learning models history, the past 5 chats that you did with ChatGPT or Gemini, what were they about? Now, this isn't a judgment call on anybody, but you're able to understand that I gain a perspective on what you're interested in. Your interest is where you care. Your care shows your moral hierarchy. So, this week, Rav Hirsch is putting this under the category of love. Now, that's a bit of a from left field, as they say, but what do I mean by love? Now, to really not get into the weeds of things once again, but we know Rav Hirsch categorizes mitzvahs. He categorizes mitzvahs into 6 categories to reflect the goal of the Jew. The Jew is on a mission. The Torah is facilitating that mission. How does the Torah facilitate that mission? With commandments. Commandments link us to God. Those are the access points for our relationship with God, but they're also the way that we manifest God's will in the world. And they're in 6 categories. Some are related to justice, some are related to love, and some are related to education. This is an access of love. Now why? Because you don't have to. A person can say to me, listen, I'm just not interested. Why should I pay attention to that, I don't know, coat on the ground? It's not mine. It has no calling on me. And there's a truth to that. It has no calling on you. But that is why you are commanded. You are commanded to act in a loving way towards your fellow, even though they have no call on you. Yes, they are struggling, but they have no call on you. It's not your burden, it's their burden. They put themselves in this situation. Why do I have to endanger myself or my money? But that is the calling of love. The calling of love on the Jew as an inspiration to himself, his family, and the world is that your responsibilities don't just stop with your body. They don't just stop with your family. They carry on to the rest of the world in these concentric circles of love. Love by nature expands. And this is a calling on you to expand your attention. So let's break it down. Obviously, when it comes to returning a lost article, your attention can go one way or it can go the other. When it comes to a person in danger, the same situation applies. But when it comes to testimony, and this is something I find to be really beautiful, the way Rav Hirsch breaks this down. When it comes to a testimony, it's the word that we use as edus, from the word oid, which means to endure. Because what is a person doing when he brings testimony? This gives us a nice symbolic angle on this topic. Testimony is concretizing, is making that which is fleeting, endure. That which is going to go away, as they say, ke'eref ayin. The past is gone, the future is not here, you only have the present. What you are doing is you are taking the past, which you are privy to, and you are bringing it into the present. You are taking your attention and you are using it in a moral way. You are using it to bring justice to the world in a way that you didn't have to. You are helping, you are facilitating, you are taking that which no one else has access to, your attention, and you're bringing it into the now. And Rav Hirsch brings a beautiful medrash that illustrates this idea. There are 3 people that God hates. Now, once again, we're talking about a medrash, in which case, take it in the spirit in which it's intended. None of us are perfect, and I'm sure some of us do this to a certain extent, but recognize the word of hatred. There's something dark about these 3 traits. What are they? A person who says one thing with his mouth and another thing in his heart. The second one, a person who holds testimony back. And the third one, who brings testimony when there's only one witness. And for those of you who don't know, in Judaism, you require 2 witnesses to substantiate the issue. Now, why these 3? And I think this is a really powerful idea. The person who says one thing with his mouth and something else in his heart, I think is a person who says one thing outside, but his interests, his attention is somewhere else. His heart is somewhere else. And I think the attention, is the perfect example of that. A person speaks one way, but when he has the opportunity to concretize his attention, to direct his attention, he chooses something else. One thing with his mouth, another thing with his heart. He's not in line. And there's something wrong about that, once again, on the level of attention. The second one, a person who withholds testimony. That means he saw something. He could bring it forward, but he doesn't. He withholds his attention. And lastly, the person who brings testimony in a way that it won't be meaningful. He goes around telling people things that nothing can happen from them. It's just him. There was no one else to substantiate it. It's just his word against their word. It will have no meaning in court, and it's just hearsay. Well, what is that? We call that moitzi shemra. We call that is a person slandering someone. Why? Because there's no value or reason for what you're doing. You're just going around telling bad things about people. Now, it might even be true, but why are you doing it? Why are you drawing your attention from the past, concretizing it in the present for no moral reason, for no good reason? You're just talking. You're just talking when there's no value, and you're causing damage. So, let's recap. The mitzvahs of Ashavas Aveda. Helping your fellow, not standing by the blood of your fellow when your fellow is in trouble, to stand up and help them, and to bring testimony. 3 angles of attention. And we spoke about how attention shows me a lot about you, shows me what you care about. And then we went through the 3 areas that are despised by God. The person who speaks with his mouth but his heart is in another way. The person who withholds testimony. And lastly, the person who brings testimony in a way that is not meaningful. He's just slandering. And it might be true. Now, obviously, there are cases where there is a benefit. That person's going to say to me, wait a minute, Simi, wait a minute. I have to tell people about this person. He's a fraud. He's a charlatan. Then obviously there's value. We're talking about when a person speaks, even if it's true, but there's no point to it. There's no value. There's no one's going to gain. No one's going to be saved. You're just saying it. And that's wrong. That's drawing your attention and placing it, concretizing it. But that once again shows me a lot about what's inside. What do you choose to pay attention to? And what do you choose to concretize? That's what we call a gossip. We know what they've been paying attention to. They let us all know about it. And that's not something we should be working towards. As always, my thanks. Have a wonderful week. And have a wonderful Shabbos.